you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another live streaming of tax training. I would like to say thank you po sa ating mga subscribers at umabot na tayo ng 20,700 subscribers as of today. No? So, thank you very much sa tulong nyo. And I would like to say, maayong gabi sa inyong tanan sa mga taga Iloilo tsaka sa mga taga Negros. No? Maayong gabi ka ninyong tanan sa Cebu, Mindanao, sa mga kapampangan po natin, mayop na bengi kekungan. Tsaka sa lahat-lahat po, magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. No? Shout out.
Shout out po kay Christina Binya Kayayan.
Okay.
Christian. Tas kay Rowena Texera. Hello po, Ma'am Elsa and Sir Harry. Good evening po. Tsaka po si
Ang kasama na po natin ngayon ay si Charles, no? Lucas. Siya po yung kasama natin ngayon kasi si Sir Harry uma-attend po ng WIPO webinar, no? Yung World Intellectual Property Office na webinar hosted by WIPO Switzerland, no? Uma-attend po siya sa kasalukuyan kasi sabay. Okay, so kasama po natin si Charles. Okay.
hello po. Tsaka po si Fe Herrera. Good evening po sa lahat. Yun na po, madam.
Okay. So, ilan na yung viewers natin?
3 po.
3. Okay. So, good evening po sa ating 3 viewers, no? Welcome to our live streaming. And our topic for tonight are the liabilities of withholding agents. No? Kasi dapat alam natin yung ating responsibilities, alam din natin yung magiging liabilities natin if we are remiss with our liabilities as withholding agents. And also, what are the penalties for non-withholding? Pag hindi ka nag-withhold, required kang mag-withhold. No? So, what are the penalties for non-withholding? And we will also do the question and answer. No? So, sasagutin natin yung mga answers. Although, hindi natin siguro tatapusin ngayon yung 2 hours because meron pa tayong seminar bukas ng umaga on the free webinar on transfer pricing and permanent establishment. No? Tatapusin pa natin yung PowerPoint and then we'll do the poll questions, ayusin pa. So, it will take time. No? Kasi sunod-sunod yung mga naging seminars natin. Kaya, pero okay lang. We're enjoying. No? Ang ganda. At saka, pag kasi ikaw yung nagtuturo, ang una-unang matuto ikaw. No? Kaya maganda yung nagtuturo ka na update ka. Sobra. Kaya na-amaze ako dun sa mga discoveries ko. No? So, what are the liabilities of withholding agents? No? At bakit sila may liabilities? Mayroong mga penalties. Ano yung mga penalties? Ano muna yung mga requirement ng batas para sa withholding agent? Ito yung nandito sa Section 57 ng National Internal Revenue Code po natin. No? Dito sa Section 57 na nire-require po ng batas natin na mag-withhold. And ano yun? Yung withholding of tax at source. Ano yung withholding tax at source? Ikaw yung may hawak ng pera, bago mo ibayad yung pera doon sa dapat bayaran, kaltasin mo na yung para sa tax and i-remit mo na sa gobyerno, i-remit mo na sa BIR. No? So, the requirement for withholding of tax at source, letter A, is withholding of final tax on certain income. Di ba meron tayong mga tinatawag na mostly passive income. Although meron ding mga, pero wala akong makita na active income. Ang active income kasi karamihan creditable, no? So sa final tax on certain income, yun yung nasa form 1601F natin, no? So yun yung mga withholding of final tax on certain income, required yan. Ano yung mga examples natin sa withholding tax na final? Yun yung withholding tax on friends benefits, withholding tax on dividends, withholding tax on interest. Karamihan po yan ay final withholding tax. No? So required na yung withholding agent, designated as withholding agent, no? Magwi-withhold sila. At ano sabi dito sa batas for the withholding of tax at source? No? May mga section siya dito na specified items of income shall be withheld by payer, corporation, and or person. So, sino yung dinidesignate na withholding agent? The corporation or the individual. Corporation and or person unpaid in the same manner and subject to the same conditions as provided in Section 58 of this code. Section 58 deals with the returns and payment of taxes withheld at source. No? So, ni-require niya na mag-withhold, no? Yung tao na may hawak ng pera na pambayad sa kanyang mga bayarin. Letter B, withholding of creditable tax at source. Yung A is final, no? Final tax. B naman, creditable tax at source. Nung sabi dito, the Secretary of Finance may, upon the recommendation of the Commissioner, require the withholding of a tax on the items of income payable to natural or juridical person residing in the Philippines by payer, corporation, or persons as provided for by law at the rate of not less than 1% but not more than 32%. No? So ito yung rate na i-withhold ng withholding agent sa bayarin niya. No? Which shall be credited against the income tax liability of the taxpayer for the taxable year. So maliwanag yan ha. Credited for the tax liability of the taxpayer for the taxable year kung kailan withheld at kung kailan nangyari yung income. No? Letter C, tax-free covenant bonds. No? Sa mga bonds na naman to, mga mortgages din. So kailangan mag-withhold. No? Okay. Section 58, returns and payment of taxes withheld. So after withholding, the law mandates that you make a return and pay the tax withheld at source. Saan mo siya ibabayad? Tax deducted and withheld under Section 57 by withholding agent shall be covered by a return. Gagawa ka ngayon ng return at bayaran mo yan sa bangko, accredited banks, or sa collection agent or collection officer or treasurer, no? Ng city or municipality. So ano yung mga forms natin na gagamitin when we pay the withholding taxes? Yung 1601C for the compensation, 0619E for the expanded, no? Ibabayad natin yan. At saka yung 1601F para sa withholding tax on final. 1606 para doon sa withholding tax on payment sa real estate transactions. So the taxes deducted and withheld by the withholding agent shall be held as a special fund in trust. Kaya nga ang violation of the withholding agent, if the withholding agent failed to remit the tax, is estafa. Bakit? Kasi special fund yan, held in trust lang niya, hindi sa kanya. No? That is, in trust for the government until paid to the collecting officers. No? So, hindi kanya yung pera sa gobyerno yun. The return for final withholding tax shall be filed and the payment made within 25 days. Meron tayong requirement kung anong klaseng withholding yan. No? Pero yung sa expanded at saka yung compensation natin, every 10th day of the following month. Yun po yung deadline for the payment. No? Okay. Statement of income payment made and taxes withheld. No? So, aside from, meron tayong gagawin na form, no? Yung 1601C, 0619E, may gagawin pa tayo ng mga certificates, no? Yung statement of income, no? Ito ang sabi dito, under Section 58, B. Statement of income payment made and taxes withheld. Every withholding agent required to deduct and withhold taxes under Section 57 shall furnish its recipient in respect to his or its receipts during the calendar quarter or year, a written statement showing the income or other payments made by the withholding agent during such quarter or year, and the amount of the tax deducted and withheld therefrom, simultaneously upon payment at the request of the payee, but not later than 20th day following the close of the quarter in the case of corporate payee, or not later than March 1 of the following year in the case of individual payee, for creditable withholding taxes. For final withholding taxes, the statement should be given to the payee on or before January 31 of the succeeding year. Ano tong statement of income? Ito yung certificates, no? So, ano yung mga certificates na dapat natin ibigay? For compensation, it should be BAR Form 2316. For creditable expanded withholding tax, it should be 2307. And for final withholding tax, BIR Form 2306. Yan po yung mga certificates na dapat ibigay natin doon sa recipient, no? Or doon sa kung sino man yung withhold natin. Annual information return, dapat meron din po. Ito, ano to? Ito yung 1604E, 1604C, 1604F, no? So every withholding agent required to deduct and withhold taxes under Section 57 shall submit to the Commissioner an annual information return containing the list, ito yung alpha list, of payees and income payment amount of taxes withheld from its payee and such other pertinent information as may be required by the Commissioner. In the case of final withholding taxes, the return shall be filed on or before January 31 of the succeeding year, and for creditable withholding taxes not later than March 1 of the year following the year from which the annual report is being submitted. This return, if made and filed in accordance with the rules and regulations approved by the Secretary of Finance, upon recommendation of the Commissioner, shall be sufficient compliance with the requirements of Section 68 of this title in respect to the income payments. So, very crucial din po that we are also submitting reports on the withholding, no? So, Commissioner may, by rules and regulations, grant to any withholding agent a reasonable extension of time to furnish and submit the return required in this subsection. Okay. Ano pang dapat gawin ng income recipient? So, letter D, income of recipient, income upon which any creditable tax is required to be withheld at source under Section 57 shall be included in the return of its recipient, but the excess of the amount of tax so withheld over the tax due in his return shall be refunded to him subject to the provision of Section 204. Kasi yung pagdating na sa certificate, if we file it with the computation at sumobra o nagkulang man tayo, pag sumobra yung bayad natin, may withholding excess na balance, meron tayong tinatawag na refund, no? Kasi nag-overpayment tayo. So if the income tax collected at source is less, kulang, than the tax due on its return, the difference shall be paid in accordance with the provision of Section 56. So kulang yung binayad mo, kulang yung withholding mo, magbabayad ka pa ng dagdag. All taxes pursuant to the provisions of this code and its implementing rules and regulations are hereby considered trust fund and shall be maintained in a separate account and not commingled with any other funds of the withholding agent. Bakit siya trust fund? Kasi hindi sa iyo yan eh. Kaya nga noon, pag nag-audit kami, then bigyan mo ng profile, lagyan mo ng profile, igawa mo ng profile yung company that you are under audit. Hinahanapan namin yan ng tax compliance, no? Ma'am, laki ng compliance namin. Laki ng withholding namin. Ilang milyon yung withholding namin that we remit. Remember that yung withholding, hindi sa inyo yun, no? Nag-withhold lang kayo doon, pero hindi kayo ang may burden noon, no? Remittance lang kayo. Kanino pera yung withhold nyo? Pera yun ng supplier nyo, pera ng empleyado nyo, no? Kaya nga sabi ng mga PESA registered enterprises, ay, laki na binabayaran namin na taxes. Yung withholding namin on compensation is millions a month, no? Oo. Kanila ba pera yun? Hindi. Pera yun ng empleyado, no? That's why hindi sa ano yun, hindi ang performance, hindi performance yun ng withholding agent, no? Performance yun nung kung sino man yung withhold niya. Excuse me. May shoutout pa? Oh, sige. Shoutout muna.
Shoutout po kay Miss Cupcake.
Okay.
Good evening daw po. Tsaka po kay Miss Cha. Good evening din daw po. Tsaka po kay Ken Buenafe. Good
Okay.
evening ma'am. Greetings from Pagadian City.
Wow.
At tsaka po si Rosalina Tune. Maayong gabi ma'am Elsa and Sir Harry from Cebu City.
Okay.
Estela Bestoy. Good evening po ma'am Elsa. Tsaka po si Amazing LB. Good evening ma'am Elsa. Tsaka po kay Eugene Cruz. Good evening ma'am Elsa and Sir Harry and Boss John.
Ang Charles, wow. Si Charles kayo ng kasama, no?
Tsaka po si Gina Persiano. Good evening
Okay.
daw po. Samara Martelino. Lilian Yao.
Okay, si Ma'am Lilian.
Rodora Constantino. Eugenia G. Magnaye. Good evening daw po sa lahat.
Okay. So, wala na. Sige po, good evening po sa lahat noon. Shout out sa lahat ng viewers po natin. So, we're talking about the liabilities of or responsibilities pa yun ng withholding agents. Ngayon doon naman tayo sa penalties, no? At saka sa liabilities ng withholding agents pag hindi nakarimit ng tax, no? So, ano yung mga penalties natin? Oh? So, tingnan natin dito. Okay. So, ito yung Section 247, Statutory Offenses and Penalties, no? Kasi hindi ka naman penalty kung wala kang violation. At ano yung violations na number 1 nangyayari sa withholding agents? Late yung remittance ng withholding o kaya non-remittance, no? Okay. So, once hindi tayo nag-remit o late tayo dun sa remittance ng withholding, what happened? So, Section 247 on the general provisions ng statutory offenses natin, sabi niya, the addition to the tax or deficiency tax prescribed in this chapter apply to all taxes, fees, and charges imposed in this code. The amount so added to the tax shall be collected at the same time, the same manner, and as part of the tax. Kasi mag-earn na siya ng penalties, no? So, dagdag na siya doon sa amount, no? So, if the withholding agent, ito pa, very specific yung tax code. If the withholding agent is the government or any of its agencies, political subdivisions or instrumentalities, or a government-owned or controlled corporation, the employee thereof responsible for the withholding and remittance of the tax shall be personally liable for the additions to the tax prescribed herein. Kung ang laki niyan, no? May na-audit na kami noon na taxpayer namin, no? It's a big government agency. Hindi sila nakabayad nag-remit ng withholding tax. Ang laki ng penalty, no? So they are asking for the reduction of the penalties. Hindi nagbibigay yung director, natatakot din siya kasi wala siyang authority, no? Na alisin yung penalty because statutory yan, kaya nakalagay diyan statutory offenses and penalties, no? So, hindi sila pinagbigyan. Nagbayad sila. Sino nagbayad doon? Yung agency mismo. Hindi lang natin alam pagdating sa COA kasi pag na-audit sila ng COA, kung i-disallow yun na yung government mismo nagbayad ng penalties, when in fact, it is very clear in the provision of the withholding of the tax code natin na pag ang withholding agent is the government, ang magbabayad ng penalties are the persons in charge of withholding. No? Okay. So, addition to the tax, pagka hindi ka nagbayad on time, civil penalties, there shall be imposed in addition to the tax required to be paid a penalty equivalent to 25% of the amount due in the following cases. So, yung surcharge ang tawag dyan, no? 25%. So, pagka ano yung mga offenses mo, pag nag-fail to file any return ka and pay the tax due thereon, so late filing. No? Okay. At actually, ang daming mga offenses dyan, no, na magawa yung taxpayer and then masasubject siya sa 25% surcharge. Okay, so for the interest, there shall be assessed and solicited on any unpaid amount of tax interest at the rate of 20%. 20% to noon, but under the train law, ginawa ng 12%. No? Per annum or such higher rate as may be prescribed by rules and regulations from the date prescribed for payment until the amount is fully paid. So, deficiency interest, the interest in the tax due as the term is defined in the code shall be subject to the interest prescribed in subsection A hereof, which interest shall be assessed and collected from the date prescribed for its payment until the full payment thereof. So, yun yung deficiency interest, no? And meron ding delinquency interest, no? Ito naman yung failure to pay the amount of the tax due on any return required to be filed, no? Okay. So, interest on extended payment. Ano yung extended payment? Beyond the due date, no? So, it may, if any person required to pay the tax is qualified and elect to pay the tax on installment under the provisions of this code but fails to pay the tax or any installment thereof or any part of such amount or installment on or before the date prescribed for its payment or where the commissioner has authorized an extension of time within which to pay a tax or a deficiency tax or any part thereof shall be assessed and collected interest, no? So, hindi niya nabayaran on time, so dapat magbayad siya ng interest at the rate herein above prescribed on the tax or deficiency tax or any part thereon unpaid from the date of notice and demand until it is paid, no? So, may interest. So, kanina may surcharge, ngayon naman may interest, no? Okay. Failure to file certain information return, meron din siyang 1,000 pesos for its failure. And then Section 251, failure of a withholding agent to collect and remit tax. No? So ito yung maraming violations. No? Any person required to withhold, account for, and remit any tax imposed by this code or who willfully fails to withhold such tax or account for and remit such tax or aids or abets in any manner to evade any such tax or the payment thereof shall in addition to another penalties provide for under the chapter be liable upon conviction to a penalty equal to the total amount of the tax not withheld or not accounted for and remitted. No? Okay. Section 252, failure of the withholding agent to refund taxes at refund exists withholding taxes. Bakit? Kasi ang buyer hindi na nagre-refund. Sino yung nagre-refund ng exists withholding? It is the withholding agent. No? So, any employer withholding agent who fails or refuses to refund exists withholding tax shall, in addition to the penalties provided in this title, be liable to a penalty equal to the total amount of refunds which was not refunded to the employee, resulting from any excess of the amount withheld over the tax actually due on their return. No? So, yun yung penalty post ng failure of withholding agent to refund withholding tax. Bakit? Sino ba dapat mag-refund? In case of an employer and employee transactions, ang employer ang mag-withhold ng tax ni employee. Mandatory yan. No? But see to it that the computation naman ng tax is tax due equals tax withheld. No? Pagka sumobra yan, sumobra yung withhold mo, yung withholding agent ang mag-refund, magbigay ng refund sa kung sino man yun na employee na na-over withheld niya. No? Okay, so siya yung bali yung may responsibility to withhold correctly. Kasi pagka nagkamali, may sobra, siya din ang magbabayad or siya din ang magre-refund, no, the employer. Okay, may question na at saka ano?
Question na po.
Oh, sige. May shoutout pa?
Meron po.
O, unahin mo muna yung shoutout bago,
Ano po? Kay
bago
Jel
tayo
Cinco
magano.
po. Good evening daw po.
Oh, sige.
Tsaka po kay Julie Ann Principe.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
evening po, Ma'am Elsa. Ano po?
Okay, sige, question na.
Question po galing ko po kay Samara Martelino.
Okay.
Ma'am, kapag wala naman po ba sa BIR Form 2303 ang 1601F, need pa ba mag-file ng cooperative?
1601F. Yung final. Hindi na po kailangan. Tsaka wala din naman sa COR. No? Pero tingnan mo naman sa nature ng activity nyo or ng industry nyo, kung mayroon talaga kayong dapat na i-withhold na final tax, no? Kasi ang withholding o final tax yung sinasabi mo. So, tingnan mo kasi baka nga wala kayong tax type na ganyan, pero yung activity nyo naman, dapat nang withhold kayo. So, try to look at, no? Next.
Galing po kay Magnaye.
Okay.
Ang 2307 po ba sa 2551Q dinededuct?
2551Q, yung 2307. Pag 2307 po, na galing sa government, meron niyang income at meron niyang business. Yung business sa VAT po, dinideduct, no? Pero yung 2307 mo na ang laman niya is withholding tax on income, then sa income tax nyo po yan i-attach, no? Doon sa pag nag-file kayo ng quarterly at kasama din pag nag-file kayo annually. Okay.
Galing naman po kay Jel 5. Ma'am, kahit po ba hindi kasama sa COR tax, type yung withholding tax for rent, ay dapat pa rin po ba mag-withhold ng 5% sa monthly rent?
Dapat po mandatory ang withholding, no? So, para updated yung inyong certificate of registration, you amend your certificate of registration and then palagyan ninyo ng tax type na expanded withholding kasi may rental kayo, no? So, hindi pwede na pabayaan nyo yan kasi kayo din yung mape-penalty, no? So, dapat yung COR nyo may expanded withholding tax.
Yun lang po, ma'am.
Wala na question?
32 po sila.
Ngayon? Okay. So, 8:30 pa lang eh. No? Okay. So, for the penalties, no? For non-withholding, magkano po ba? No? Magkano yung penalties for non-withholding? Actually, yung BIR, meron po yan sila na tinatawag natin na schedule of penalties, no? Kasi if you try to look at, pag na-late ka, hindi ka tatanggapin ng bangko kung hindi ka dadaan sa BIR for the computation of the officer of the day, no? Ang hindi ko lang alam ngayon, kasi online na tayo, at pag ginamitin nyo ang online na EBIR forms, kung saan na siya compute ng penalties. That's why kung halimbawa late, yung pinasok ninyong form, date, no? Yung filing nyo, halimbawa, nagko-compute na rin ng interest ang computer, no? That's why siguro hindi na kailangan pumunta ng officer of the day para magpapirma. And then kung halimbawa magbayad ka naman through electronic payment, no? So hindi mo na talaga kailangan pumunta pa ng BIR. That's why all you have to do is to file it through the EBIR and then wait for your confirmation at saka nyo bayaran, no? Para safe at saka para sigurado din kayo. Okay, next. Okay. So, I would like to invite you, no, bukas meron pa tayong free webinar on transfer pricing and the permanent establishment. Ang ganda ng topics po ng permanent establishment. Akala natin, wala lang, ano ba yung permanent establishment? Permanent establishment pala is yung mga construction site, yung mga brands, no? Mga mining sites na ginawa dito sa Pilipinas, yun pala, kasama yan sa tinatawag na permanent establishment. Okay? Meron na?
Meron po.
Sige.
Ganun po kay Rachel.
Okay.
Is it the advance payment subject to withholding tax? How
Adva
about CUSA charge?
advance payment po ng ano that will later be. Sa VAT kasi, yung advance payment, consider na rin siya na ay bayaran mo ng tax. Pero sa withholding, ang kailan ka ba magbabayad when the transaction has been consummated at saka nagbayaran na, no? So, it ever comes first, yung date na dapat ka na mag-accrue o nasa iyo na yung pera, dapat magbayad na kayo ng withholding. No? Advance payment yan. Halimbawa, advance payment yan ng rental. Hindi naman yan deposits. Kasi ang deposits, hindi mo pa yan dapat i-withhold kasi deposits pa lang yan. Pero yung mga advance payment, advance payment of rental, kailangan na po i-remit. No? Kasi gross receipt tayo, services po yan eh. So, once you receive already the advance payment, bayaran nyo na yung withholding.
Galing po naman po kay Gel 5. Paano po ang amid ng COR? Pupunta po ba sa BIR para ipabago po yung COR?
Yes po. Pupunta talaga kayo sa BIR, no? You fill up BIR form 1905 and then hanapin nyo doon sa mga box na yon kung anong klase yung changes na gusto nyo mangyari sa COR. Halimbawa, additional na tax type, then punta kayo doon sa box na you request for additional tax type at saka kung anong klaseng tax type yun. Okay.
Kay Rosalina Tune.
Okay.
Ask ko po, ma'am, company has 5 employees,
Okay.
no withholding sa salary since accepted. Tanong ko po, is there a need mag-file ng 1601C at 1601EQ?
Kung wala kayong dapat i-withhold, then pa-cancel na po ninyo yung tax type ninyo na withholding tax on compensation. Why? Kasi hindi kailangan at ang gagawin nyo para hindi kayo ma-open case, file kayo ng file monthly, which is not dapat, no? So, yun namang sa expanded, I think, meron talaga kayo niyan, no? Bakit? Kasi ang expanded withholding na yan, withholding yan para doon sa operating expenses nyo. Ano ba yung mga nandoon sa operating expenses na dapat i-withhold? Repairs and maintenance. No, dapat kayo mag-withhold dyan. Services dyan. Janitorial services, dapat din mag-withhold. Security, professional fee, ano pa, yung mga directors fee ninyo na hindi siya employee. So, dapat may professional fees din kayo na wini-withhold. Utilities, yung 2% na utilities, no? So, dapat din mag-withhold. That's why, yung expanded withholding tax, I don't think na kailangan nyo ipatanggal. Pero yung withholding tax on compensation, since lahat ng empleyado are minimum o kaya hindi umabot dun sa threshold na 250,000 a year, then patanggal nyo na po yung 01C or yung withholding tax on compensation ninyo na tax types so that hindi na kayo ma-open case at hindi na kayo dapat mag-file, no?
Galing naman po, ma'am, kay Jen Parinas.
Okay.
Good evening, ma'am. Pag ba't registered po, ba kailangan magbayad pa percentage tax 2551Q?
Depende. Kung may activity ka na subject sa percentage tax, dapat ka pa mag-file ng percentage tax. Pero kung halimbawa, wala naman, ang line of business mo, isa lang, yun lang yung batable, then once na VAT ka na, hindi na kailangan magbayad pa ng percentage tax. Madoble ka na nun. No? Doble-doble na doon sa transaction. Excuse ha. Inom lang po, sandali. Yung iniinom ko, may chia seeds, no? Maganda siya sa health. Maganda sa pakiramdam na ano ko siya, na parang nahiyang ko siya. Sarap ng pakiramdam ko pag may chia seeds yung iniinom ko. Okay, so again, next.
Next po. Kay Rodora Constantino po.
Okay.
Ma'am, sa corporation po, ano po monthly BIR form na i-declare? Tas ang quarterly. Ma'am, sa corp po, ano po monthly BIR form na i-declare? Tas ang quarterly. Tapos po daw yung quarterly daw.
Okay. Sa corporation, kaya nga ang pinaka-importante ninyo na form is your COR or the Certificate of Registration. Why? Kasi yun ang pinaka-guide nyo. The moment register na kayo sa BAR, meron kayong BAR form 2303, yung Certificate of Registration ninyo, di ba? Require pa yan na anong tawag dito, i-frame ninyo and then i-display sa conspicuous place of business ninyo o dun sa opisina para nakikita nyo siya palagi. Why? Kasi that will serve you as your reminder kung ano yung ipafile mo. So ano ba yung ipafile mo pag ikaw ay isang corporations? Depende yan doon sa certificate of registration nyo approved or issued by the BIR. Why? Kasi in-evaluate na yan ng in charge ng registration. Kung ano yung mga documents mo sa mayor's permit is easy, tiningnan niya ngayon doon kung ano yung magiging activities that you are going to engage. At saka kanya bibigyan ng certificate of registration, nandun na yung tax types mo. So para malaman mo kung ano yung mga tax types mo, tingnan mo yung certificate of registration. So kung ano yung mga common na tax types na dapat nandun, registration fee, ito yung babayaran mo ng 0605 babayaran mo ng 500 every end of the year, January, beginning of the year, no? So, January, at ang form na gagamitin mo is BAR Form 0605, no? After that, meron ka dapat na lahat ng na wala, hindi naman exempted, no? Ay merong tax type na income tax. So, sa income tax, ano naman yung mga form na dapat mong i-file? Yung kung individual ka, ito yung 1701Q for the quarterly and the BIR Form 1701 for the annual. No? So, yun ang form na dapat mo i-file. If you are engaged in sale of goods, tapos hindi naman umabot ng 3 million or 3 million below lang yung sales during the year, and then nagpa-register ka, sinabi mo hindi ka abot. So, percentage na ang babayaran mo na quarterly, no? So, ano yun? 2551Q quarterly na ngayon ay 1% na lang. Pag ikaw naman ay engaged in the battable services or sale of goods, and then more than 3 million yung sales mo during the year, so ano dapat ang ipa-file mo? Yung BIR Form 2550M, yung monthly, for the first 2 months of the quarter, and then for the third month of the quarter, yung ipa-file mo na is the 2550Q, no? So, magiging cumulative yan. Lahat ng binayan mo during the year, lahat ng sales mo during the year will be reflected in that quarterly income. Pagdating naman sa withholding, kung halimbawa may mga empleyado ka, mayroon silang sweldo na subject to tax, no? So, meron ka naman dapat na tax type na withholding tax on compensation. Ano yung form na gagamitin mo dyan? 1601E, 1601C, and then i-remit mo yan every 10th day of the following month. No? Yun ang remittance sa BAR. Ano pa? Dapat meron kang alpha list na sinasubmit. Usually, yung iba, ginagawa nila annually, kasama yung 1604C. No? For the expanded withholding naman, para doon sa mga expenses mo, withhold ka. So, creditable expanded withholding tax yan. Ang tax type mo naman dyan is expanded withholding tax. No? Ano yung form na gagamitin mo? 0619E. No? Yun yung monthly for the next 2 months. For the third month, no, end of the quarter, ang gagamitin mo is yung 1601Q naman. No? At meron ka dyan na alpha list of payers na dapat i-submit. Okay, so yun po yung mga examples ng mga tax types na dapat po nating i-file at saka kung ano yung mga forms na dapat gamitin. Pero yung guide mo, lalo na ngayon, kung ngayon nagpaparegister, ang magiging guide ninyo is your COR kasi kung ano yung nakalagay doon, yun yung dapat nating i-comply. Okay.
Ma'am, follow-up daw po kay Rosalie.
Okay.
2 companies of different business activities daw po yun. Tapos, service at manufacturing daw po.
Yung sabi niya na sa percentage tax.
Yung sa ano daw po, ma'am.
Percentage at saka VAT.
Yung kung anong monthly BIR form na i-declare.
Kung manufacturing at saka ano yun?
Manufacturing at po services po.
And services. So, parehong vatable yun eh. No? So, anong dapat i-file mo? VAT, no? VAT na monthly at saka quarterly. And then income tax, no? Income tax na quarterly and annually. So, yung quarterly na income tax mo is, so corporation kayo, is 1702Q for the quarter and then 1702 for the annual. So, yun ay pa-file po ninyo. For VAT naman, 2550M for the first 2 months of the quarter and then 2550Q for the third month, which is cumulative. Sa quarterly return na gagawin mo, kasama na din sa total mo yung first 2 months. No? Sige, next.
Tanong po ni Amazing LP.
Okay.
BIR on July 2021 sa na-i-withhold last March 2021. Yun po yung...
Ano yung, basahin mo nga ulit, na i-withhold noong 2021 lang?
BIR on July 2021 sa na-i-withhold last March 2021.
July 2021?
July po lang nalito.
So, na-i-withhold niya ng?
March 2020.
So, advance yun, advance payment. No? So, naibayad na. So, wala naman problema lalo na pag services. Kasi ang services naman po, gross receipt. So, the moment na natanggap mo na yung bayad, you have to withhold na. No? I-remit mo na yun sa gobyerno. Okay.
Galing naman po kay Jerry 5.
Okay.
Kung hindi pa po na-amend yung COR sa BIR, dapat po ba na hindi muna mag-withhold sa rent?
Actually, po, yung tanong na hindi dapat mag-withhold na kasi unang-una, nag-accrue na dapat na magbayad Actually, nagbayad na, no? So, since wala kang tax type na rent, so, sabi mo kung pwedeng hindi muna mag-remit, hindi muna magbayad, ang sagot, pwede, no? Pwede, bakit wala ka kasing tax type na ganyan But the problem is, dapat na talaga withhold kasi nagbabayad ka na ng rent, no? So, anong mangyayari? Ano yung disadvantage sa taxpayer? Hindi mo pwedeng i-claim ang rent as your expense, no? Doon sa income tax return mo. So, yun ang mangyayari kasi hindi ka nag-withhold. Okay, next.
Galing po kay Ma'am Panghulan. If expenses through cash advance, subject to withholding tax din po ba? Di pa po alam ang exact amount like entertainment expense pero aabot ng more than 10K.
Ulitin mo yung question.
If expense through cash advance,
yung mga reimbursement. Okay.
subject to withholding tax din po ba?
Subject din po sila sa withholding tax, especially na recurring yan or routine, no? Na purchases nyo. reimbursement of expenses are also subject to withholding. Ang problema nyo lang dyan, during the time that you purchase, wala kayong way on how to withhold. So yun yung sinasabi ko sa inyo na since that is a requirement for you to withhold, ang ginagawa ng iba, hindi sila nagwi-withhold at the time nung transaction. Ang ginagawa nila, nagre-remit na lang sila at their own money, no? So, additional expenses na sa kanila yun, yung para sa withholding. Kasi bakit? Pagka ang withholding, especially yung sa rental na yan, pertaining yan doon sa expenses, hindi nyo maklaim yung expenses pag hindi kayo nag-withhold. Okay. Next.
Galing po kay Stella. Ma'am, may bat na kami. Pero noong April, may benta kami. Percentage tax pa kami. Paano namin yun mababayaran yung April?
April, late na, no? Late na at saka VAT na kayo, no? So, hindi na kayo pwedeng magbayad ng percentage. Why? Kasi wala na kayong tax type na percentage. So, lahat ng transactions ninyo na papasok, since na nagiging VAT na kayo, doon na yan papasok sa VAT. No? Okay. Next.
Galing po kay Chess. Ma'am Elsa, yung broker HP of licensed custom broker ba? Subject sa withholding tax.
Yes po. Yung mga brokers, di ba, nandyan kasi consider yan services. And brokers nga, professional services yan, kaya higher yung rate of withholding, no? So tingnan natin doon sa schedule, no? Kasi yung form ngayon, wala ng rates eh. So, tingnan na lang natin doon sa bagong tax code, no? Kasi yung bagong tax code natin dapat updated na dahil kagaya nito, this is the tax code pa nung CTRP o yung Comprehensive Reform Package Program pa ng BIR. Eh, meron ng train law, meron ng create law. So, dapat napapalitan na. Okay.
Galing po kay Yonel Liban. Ma'am, yung sa quarterly ng expanded, hindi na po need mag-file ng monthly, example June?
Yung expanded ng quarterly, required pa rin po. In fact, ang expanded, meron niyang form para sa first 2 months na monthly at saka yung third month na quarterly, no? Kasi yung quarterly na yan, total na yan ang lahat. First at second month. Sige, next.
Galing po kay Righteous. Ma'am Elsa, this may be out of topic, but
No,
just
wala
want
po.
to know your comment with regards to RR 9 2021 on VAT on export sales. Those is cover sales to PEZA registered entity.
Yun lang yung ano niya.
Those is, may ano po naman, may kasunod
Yun
po.
yung question niya.
Opo.
Sige.
May kasunod. Those is also applied to packaging material supply to zero-rated companies like PEZA registered din.
Nasa ano yan eh, nasa bago yan eh, yung VAT, no? Kasi ang PESA registered enterprises, zero rated yan sila eh, no? And sometimes exempt also. So, ang tanong niya, does it cover also yung sale to PESA registered enterprise? Yun ba? Ulitin mo yung ano niya, question.
This may be out of topic, but just want to know your comment with regards to RR 9 2021 on VAT on export sales. Those it's cover sales to PEZA registered entity.
Oo, kasama sila. Kasi ang PESA registered entities naman, pag may transaction sila na local, nagiging subject na rin sila sa VAT, no? Yung zero rated lang nila yung export sale. But the moment na dito na sa Pilipinas, nagiging subject na po sila sa VAT. Yung VAT on domestic sales, yun po yung tawag.
Ma'am, last question po kay Stella.
Okay.
Follow-up question niya daw po yung, bali po yung April wala na kaming bayad doon. Tapos isama ko na siya sa 2550Q sa July.
wala na kasi wala na po kayong tax type doon na percentage noon. No? So isama mo na siya sa July na sales, no? Okay.
Tsaka nagpapashoutout po si Juanang Masikap na rate card po siya.
Nandyan pa. Okay, so shout out po sa Iwanang Masipag, no? Kasama din natin siya sa mga ibang webinar, no? Okay. Wala na. Ilan pa yung viewers natin?
31.
No? So, going back to our topic, yung liabilities of withholding agents, no? So, ano yung liabilities ng withholding agents? The funds na wini-withhold ng withholding agents are trust fund, no? So, trust fund yan held in favor of the government, no? That's why, pag ang withholding agents failed to withhold, meron na siya kagad na violations, no? O kaya, nag-withhold naman, pero hindi sapat o kaya hindi nire-remit, no? So, that is another violations also. No? So, maraming liabilities ang withholding agent, just like, halimbawa, no, doon sa mga regulations natin. Halimbawa, yung withholding tax on compensation. Diba, ang sabi natin, magkaroon ng year-end adjustment yung employer wherein i-tax due equals tax withheld niya, no? And the excess withholding will be given back to the employee, no? Hindi halimbawa binigay ng employer, doon kay employee yung excess niya na withholding, no? So, anong penalty nitong si withholding agent? The penalty of the withholding agent who refuses to refund the excess withholding tax to its employees ay pay the tax double the amount, no? So, yung bayaran niya yung refund, no, doon sa employee, and then i-double the amount pa niya, no, sa penalty, bali penalty na yung isa, limit niya po sa government, no. Ganyan pagka hindi nagre-refund yung employer, because the employer under the law designated po siya as withholding agent, siya ang magbabayad ng tax ng empleyado. Okay? Wala na?
Ganun po kay Yoli.
Okay.
Ma'am, yung expanded kanina na tanong ko, di ba po mag-file kami monthly ng 0619E? Example, April, May, and June. Pero mag-file pa din kami nung quarterly?
Yes, magpa-file kayo ng quarterly, pero ang quarterly kasi pagka third month na, wala nang monthly yan. Yung for the quarter lang. No, yung first 2 months lang, yun lang yung may monthly. Yung third month, quarterly lang yun. No? Kaya, hindi magdoble-doble yung ating filing. No? Yung first 2 months, yun yung 2550 M monthly. Pero yung third month of the quarter, yan yung quarterly na talaga siya na cumulative, no? Kasama na yung monthly niya ipa-file mo. So kung sabat yan, 2550Q yan. Okay, next.
Galing po kay Mariel Carino. Good evening po.
Okay.
Paano po mag-withhold ng 1% sa regular supplier of goods na less than 10,000 po ang pinapurchase?
Less than 10,000 ang pinapurchase mo, but pag samasamahin mo during the year, since siya yung halimbawa supplier mo, aabot yan ng more than 10,000. So you are going to withhold, no? Dapat mo withhold na kayo kasi pagka mga routinary purchase yan and then more than 6 times ka nag-purchase during the year, then consider na yan as regular supplier. So dapat nag-withhold po kayo. Okay.
Galing po kay Amazing LP. Yung taxpayer is nagbayad ng office rental to lessor since March 2021.
Okay.
Pero di pa registered sa BIR si taxpayer. If ever mag-register this July 2021, pwede pa ba mag-remit on July yung withhold?
Yung winidhold, i-current nyo. So, yung winidhold nyo, dun sa current na month, na naayos nyo na yung registration, lahat-lahat, dun nyo na siya i-remit, no? Huwag nyo muna lang ano yun sa previous, kasi wala ka pa namang way on how to remit that, no? Okay. Wala na? Sige, so since may invite ko po kayo sa free webinar, no? Yung iba nating mga participants bukas na dyan din sa ngayon natin. So, invite ko po kayo bukas for the free webinar on transfer pricing and permanent establishment. Alam nyo, napaka salimuot ng permanent establishment, na yung permanent establishment, yun yung mga presence ng mga foreign countries dito sa Pilipinas na inaano nila yung sarili nila, tinitwist nila yung application ng batas para hindi sila magbabayad ng tax, no? Kaya napakaganda ng discussions natin bukas. But that permanent establishment na discussions natin is in relation with transfer pricing, kasi if you try to look at our free webinars, puro about transfer pricing talaga lahat, no? Kasi gusto ko na mahasa talaga yung participants sa transfer pricing so that kahit na mag-expand na siya na mag-expand ng sarili niya, naka-anchor na siya doon talaga sa substance, sa basic ng transfer pricing. No? Wala na?
Meron po tanong.
May mga pahabol yan kasi. Okay.
Kay Righteous po. Ma'am Elsa, how about the real property tax on the leased property? If paid by the lessee, should it be claimed as additional rent expense?
Kung kayo charge sa inyo, pwede naman yun, but it should be in the contract. At kung kayo ang nagbayad, isama nyo yan doon sa rental expense nyo. Huwag nyo isama sa taxes and licenses nyo, because that is not your taxes and licenses. That is the taxes and licenses of your lessor. Kaya anong expense ninyo yan? Diyan, since in-add-on yan sa rental income, i-add-on nyo siya doon. No? Okay. Sa rental expense, no? Okay.
Girodor, ay follow-up question dyan daw po. And subject to withholding tax of 5%?
Yes, ang rental, subject po siya sa 5% withholding tax.
Sabi po ni Rodoro Castanti, how to participate po sa webinar niyo bukas?
May mga links po tayo na sa Facebook, o kaya mag-send ka ng email mo, kanete_elsa@yahoo.com. Bibigyan po namin kayo ng links, no? O kaya yung sa tax training natin, meron naman po tayong Facebook page for, meron ba, Hari?
Para link sa mga
Tax training?
tax training bukas. Nasa Facebook. Nasa Facebook.
Nasa Facebook po, no? So mag-ano kayo ng links. Pero kung mahirapan kayo, yung aking email address, kadete_elsa@yahoo.com. Padala nyo po yung email address nyo at padala ko sa inyo yung link through email. No? Kung sa Facebook ko naman, yung Elsa Cañete, pwede rin po dyan para mapadala ko sa inyo yung link. No? Pero available po siya sa Facebook, yung mga links natin at saka invitations on the webinar. All you have to do is to follow the links and then register, no, sa Google form natin and then submit. No? And then bukas, pagka gusto nyo nang umattend, i-open nyo yung YouTube channel natin na Basic Transfer Pricing and then mag-comment kayo ng pangalan ninyo so that masama kayo dun sa attendance. No? Requirement po natin yan in order that you can get the certificate of attendance. Okay?
Tanong po galing po kay Juan Masikap.
Okay.
Ma'am, I have a question po. What if nagwi-withhold po si taxpayer for 0619E, pero si consultant WL pong resibo. Wala pa pong resibo. Hindi po ba magkakaproblema si taxpayer kung wala pong resibo naka-attach sa voucher?
Okay, magkakaproblema talaga kayo. So, ang gagawin nyo, magpa-acknowledgement receipt kayo. Why? Kasi violation yan ng professionals nyo. At marami yan, no? So, since violation yan ng professionals nyo at kayo ay compliant, then you have to withhold and then remit it to the BIR, no? Ang paggawa nyo na lang sa kanya, acknowledgement receipt. So that pagdating na ng audit ng BIR, siya yung penalize, hindi kayo. No? But since nag-ano kasi kayo, nag-withhold, then pwede nyo nang i-claim as an expenses. Okay. Next.
Wala na po.
Okay, so I would like to say thank you po sa mga viewers natin. And our live streaming here is every Tuesday and Thursday. And 8 o'clock yan hanggang 10 o'clock, 2 oras. And hopefully, itong July, we can improve our content, no? Sa ating live streaming, we can add invite guests na mga lawyers so that yung mga answers, mga questions ninyo and queries ninyo about cases, about filing in court, about remedies, masagot po. No? So, ano po tayo? Wait lang po tayo kasi mag-i-improve tayo ng content natin next month. No? So, with that, I would like to say thank you very much and let's call it a night.